you an online educator struggling to find your audience? Quasar Markets connects you with learners looking for you. Keep 100% ownership of your courses. No hidden fees. Already have monetized content? Get paid again and again. Apply today. Take control of your educational empire. Quasar Markets, where educators build their legacy.
Good morning, Quasar Markets Live, and he's back. Well, sort of. How's it going, Big B? What's going on, man?
Man, I am out in Las Vegas, Nevada this morning. It is 6 a.m. and I'm super excited because we're at the Bitcoin conference today. I can tell you, I walked around yesterday near the Sphere, actually, in the Venetian Hotel. Walked around. It is 5 times bigger than the previous Bitcoin conferences. Look, it helps when Bitcoin's at 110,000, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it looks like now that you're back in the US from traveling, on the shiny seas there, the markets want to turn around here. So, 4 straight days of losing on the S&P. Are we going to reverse that today?
Yeah, I think so. Look, there's a couple things out there that I'm a little concerned about. One of the things that I like to do, and we all know this. Good morning, Marcus Shark. See you there. Is channel checks. We call this channel checks because I want to look and see what other people are thinking about the markets, what other people are thinking about their investing world, right? And so what I'm hearing right now is a little trepidation in voices. It's not just, hey, what should I do? Should I move it to some? Should I just get out? Um, the answer's always been to me no, right? And when we talk about it, when I always say, look, the market's about one thing. What is it? The path of least resistance. When the market capitulated a few weeks back, to me, it was very simple. Uh, that path of least resistance is not to the downside, it's to the upside. But the path of least resistance now is not to the upside. It's not saying, hey, there's new catalysts in order to make this happen. And in fact, Howard, this morning I noticed that well, a couple things happened. One is that Putin is pushing, and we're hearing some news in Sweden, and we're hearing some news on the border of Russia and NATO that Putin is not giving up and he's not stopping his push. And President Trump is saying, well, I don't really understand why he's doing this. So all of a sudden, that a very large geopolitical issue there, right? And so that bothers me a lot. And it is now not just bothering traders, but it's also bothering Main Street. So that was when I go, I got to think about it here. Now, we know one thing's big tomorrow, right? It's Nvidia's numbers. And I think you're probably going to ask me, Steve, are you going to get out? And the answer is, what do you think the answer is?
No.
No, of course not, because my thesis hasn't changed. And I think when the thesis of the world changes, that's when I will start to think about different things. But my emails, my texts, things that when the people contact me, they're not yelling at me and saying, hey, what do I do, Big B? What do I do? What should I do? No one's saying that right now.
I
When they
think
do
you
that,
just
I'll let you know.
nailed it. It's something that I brought up, if you remember before, was people aren't asking what stocks they should buy. They're asking whether they should be in stocks. And I think that
Mm,
that's where you got to start being a little bit more worried again. It means that they're going to capitulate if stuff goes, the folks that are just those, regular investors. It's regular investors who've taken this beating and seen this little recovery and saying, I don't want to give it up. I don't want to go back down. So that's where I think, like you're saying, now we've got room up to the upside here, especially today. I feel that we've got some nice little room to run today. But like you're saying, we're going to start to get to those resistance levels. If we look at my screen,
mhm.
once we get to that 530 level, I don't think we have the impotence right now to break to this
We
upside.
don't.
I do think we can get up to this area though. But I would be wary going towards it, like you said. Steve, another thing though, again, I forget who told me this before, that this year would be the year of merger and acquisitions,
Yeah.
but Salesforce near 8 billion for Informatic, a company that I asked you about, I think a month or two ago, and you said somebody that, isn't doing anything in the tech world, somebody needs to buy them.
That's right. Look, here's the thing. The rates are up a little bit. So the borrowing money to be able to buy these other companies, the mergers and acquisitions that we've been talking about, there needs to be again another catalyst to happen. Now, the catalyst in the past has been the FTC. The FTC has literally stopped everything going through. No mergers, no acquisitions. We had a very unfriendly administration towards business, and when you have that problem, the mergers and acquisitions that you expect to happen are like, wait a minute, we already know that this administration hates us. I don't want to spend money on lawyers and talking to these other companies. I don't want to show my cards in a lot of ways. So they held off, right? And there's a pent up demand now to buy. And especially when you have a situation where the tech world is starting to kind of come together a bit. A lot of job losses. The people are nervous about obviously the trade war going on, and it's getting worse. Don't get me, it's not getting better. The president is on. I mean, I feel like I think I made a post the other day on, off again. Wax on, wax off, like a Karate Kid, right? Give me a break. Do it or don't do it. But we need clarity, right? And so if you don't, if you have all this cash, which these companies do, right? We know that Apple's at the highest cash pile. We know that Berkshire Hathaway has the highest cash pile. They got to do something with it. And so one of the things they do with it is they will buy back their own stock, or they will kick out a dividend, or they will go whale hunting. And in this case, whale hunting to me is exactly what's happening right now. You're seeing these companies with a pent up demand. They already have the cash. So here is a place where they're not having to borrow money in order to make these acquisitions, right? So if that's the case, then now you're going to see this start to pump in. And it's companies that have cash flow and companies that aren't really, they're not streamlined. There's a problem in the tech world, right? They're not pushing the envelope. I understand Apple, and I've been very hard on Apple. I was hard on Apple this morning, uh, that they weren't innovating. But I think at the WDC, the World Developer Conference, that they're going to come out with some good stuff, right? So when people
That's
are
well,
asking me,
we'll let's get back to
okay,
that because there's a
so when
lot to
people ask me,
unpack with what just happened with
so let me finish
Johnny
this.
Ivy and those things. Let's go
Let me
back to
finish this.
Salesforce.
You're right. Let me
Eh,
finish the thought with Salesforce. So when Apple said, I want to innovate, they said, we're going to innovate by AI. So when I'm asked about AI, I always say the same thing. Companies in AI that will do the best are the companies that already have the data. And companies like Salesforce will do very good because they already have the data. So what they need to do with this data is two things. The first thing they need to do is be able to just extract it, right? They need to be able to pull it down. They need to be able to put it. And the second thing they need to do is reconfigure that data so that the AI can use it a little bit more efficiently. And Informatica, that is that company that does that. And that makes it so much easier, that process for Salesforce. And I think this is a great buy. I like Salesforce here, and I think in the AI world they're going to be a tech leader, but they also have missing a big piece because they don't have the most powerful AI yet. So Salesforce has the data, they have the distribution, and they have the ability to change it, but they don't have the strong chat GPT. So look for them to be buying some kind of AI company or building their own, which is what they should be doing, is building their own GPTs internally and then build an external one. And this whole thing would make sense. This is a company that could literally pass up Amazon, because they have not just Amazon's backend, they got it all. They have Salesforce is on it's the back end of everything. So I think they're doing the right thing here.
Yeah, I mean, big talks. They started this in April of 2024. Initially, it was talked about 10, 11 billion dollars. Sort of fell apart over those pricing disputes, so they came back at 8 billion. Seems like the number that makes
Mhm.
them happy. As you
Yep.
mentioned, strategic fit. Informatica specializes in enterprise cloud data management, focusing on ETL, which is the extract, transform, load. So the ability to do it really, really well, really quickly. Data management for companies, and it will really complement Salesforce's existing products like
Yes.
MuleSoft and Slack and Data Cloud, with their enhancing its AI and data integration, like you talked about. Salesforce. The other thing for me, Salesforce has had a good history of M&A, right? They
Yes.
bought Slack. They didn't create Slack. They bought Tableau. They bought MuleSoft. So they've been a company that's been pretty good at buying others and bringing them in, because we know others have struggled. Oracle. Every time Oracle makes a huge buy, it takes them years to get that sort of worked out, in my opinion.
Yes,
Um,
because their back end is Crystal Reports, right? I mean,
yeah,
their back end is Oracle.
yeah. Oracle, yeah, so specified to get things up to where they're at is different. So
Correct.
yeah, so I think it's a good one. Like you said, it's data, data, data. And what this does is it added picks and shovels that Salesforce didn't have. And now they don't have to go build those picks and shovels. They
Right.
can continue, like you said, to build out. It talks about building out their GPT and their own data management capabilities, and how this will definitely, be a big one there. It gives more, just more oomph to the markets, I think, personally. So I was happy to see it. And it's one of the first real tech ones we've seen outside of, well, you were gone. I guess we got to move backwards. That's why I wanted to say, when before we get excited about Apple's new innovations, because some of those were related about wearables that you were big about. Now they got some big competition, man.
Yeah.
I got to be honest. You know that I've generally been an Apple bull. I am rather negative on Apple. I think it is a big deal that OpenAI purchased Johnny Ive's company, and they'll be at the forefront, in my opinion, of making what is the next type of wearable. We don't even know what it's going to be. Is it a ring? Is it a watch? Is it glasses? Is it all of the above?
Very, very, very good point. Johnny Ives is very, very astute when it comes to producing the actual feeling of what the person wants with tech, meaning that it's cool to have a big old brick in your hand, but he changed how
Yeah,
we
he's the
look
guy that
at
made the
the
clicking sound that we all. There's the
crazy.
only reason we left BlackBerry for Apple was because it clicked, right? You know.
You didn't need a physical keyboard, right? And, oh, and BlackBerry said you'll always need a physical keyboard, and he's like, no, you really don't. In
Yeah.
fact, I want to make rounded edges, and I want to make it look good and white, and he did all of that, the aesthetic side of it, and he's going to do that. Look, it's cool that Ray-Ban, it's cool that these wearables and watches and all kinds of things, but he wants to make it so that it's a culture change, and
Yeah,
that's
it
what you have to
replaces
do.
it. Like he'll try to replace the use of a smartphone with what's on your wrist or in
And I'm
your
with him.
ear. Like you've got an earbud in right now, and it doesn't even need a device, so to speak. Yeah, it's going to
That's
be.
right.
I love it. Competition's what spurs innovation. So for me, it's always a benefit to have, not a negative. But it's one that I think gives headwinds to Apple that I didn't see coming personally. Man, I think that that was a mistake at some point there, letting that happen. You got to outbid for that, but
Yeah.
we'll see what happens.
And Apple has the cash to do it. I don't. That's not no. But I also thought on the flip side of that, I'm sure Johnny Ives is probably okay because he's probably got a lot of Apple stock still. He's got a few dollars in the bank, so he's got more now,
Oh, it
right?
doesn't even
I
matter
think
from
he's
that.
okay.
This purchase gives him, like through
Leverage.
$30 billion in
Yes,
payout too.
leverage.
So he's set. He just entered the Zuckerberg. He entered the Deca billionaire with this,
He's got a new
which I'm
yacht
sure.
tomorrow. Yes, he's got a new yacht. Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that how quickly things change, because now I'm looking for it. I don't even see where it is. DJT was the highest
Mm,
flying stock earlier this morning. What is it doing now? Sorry. Shows you how the market's moved. Now it's down 8. Whoa! Steve, do
yeah.
you see what's going on here?
Yeah, look, it's very simple to me. I think that I've talked about this for a while. Rug pull, rug pull, rug pull. It is what it
14%
is.
move here, Steve. This was
Yeah,
up. This was up double
yeah.
digits, 10%. Now down 6% in a matter of 5 minutes. Wow, that changed. This was literally my headline that was coming. Trump and Media and Technology Group up 7.19%. It is now down. It hit as low as down as 8%.
Hmm.
Wow. And that's not on an earnings day, I don't believe. I'm going to go back. No earnings. Whoa. That is some craziness.
Well, I mean, they are looking to raise what, like I think three
So that's
billion
been
dollars.
disputed. They've come back and said that was not true
Hmm.
in a release from them. Now, I don't know what it is or isn't, and what Steve's talking
Well,
about is
I
there
will
was.
tell you this much. Unfortunately, I think that the for them to say that might be a little misconstrued because the paperwork that people are seeing is that they plan a $2.5 billion Bitcoin treasury deal, 1.5 billion from stock and a billion from convertible notes. So there is a little bit more paper behind this now. Um, yeah, I think they're raising money to buy Bitcoin. So remember,
They're going to enter the race. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise
as
me. I mean, if that's what your company is going to do, if World Liberty Financial is going to be one of them, it has to be in that world, I guess. Now, interesting how he'll get along with Mr. Lutnick now, because they'll be in direct competition. And he doesn't usually like having his competition close at hand, does he?
Well, when you're the boss,
Maybe on this one, and maybe on this one because they're just the commonality is that they're buying Bitcoin, and that should make the treasuries worth more for everybody. And for those that don't know, what the talk was is that Trump media is looking to raise upwards of $3 billion to purchase Bitcoin in the same way that Howard Lutnick's company, Cantor
or
Fitzgerald, was
strategy,
trading
or
as
strategy.
CEP, or MicroStrategy, or Meta Planet. There's now a lot of them out there. And
Hey,
this
I
will put
saw
them.
I saw a lot of T-shirts this weekend so far. The word strategy on them, black shirts with orange strategy on them. Look, it's not. I told this earlier, right? It's not just that they're buying; they're changing the culture, and it's how they're doing it. So, what have I said about mergers and acquisitions? Right? They're acquiring Bitcoin. How are they doing it? Right? If you don't have cash in your hands, you need to go raise the money. So, this is this a good time to buy? No, it's definitely not because the interest rates are up. This is why Trump wants rates down because he needs to go to the bank and borrow the money, right? But in this case, he's selling stock because it's cheap, and he's
Well, it's
also
also what everybody he's following. Like you
right,
said,
he's
he's following strategy,
correct.
unintended. Yeah, no, without
Yeah,
a doubt. I mean, listen, we've seen all of it this play out, and for me, I guess this becomes a net positive because, as I've said, I don't want
yes,
Michael Saylor to get it all. I want there to
agreed.
be 20, 30 different companies, if not hundreds of companies, that have Bitcoin on their treasury so that we don't end up with somebody that controls
Which
too
is
much.
which is why there's a liquidity issue, right? If these companies start buying it up, they're borrowing money, they're selling
Yeah, this is
convertible
why I
debt.
would not.
You
It's funny in my crypto room, everyone's asking, "Am I selling?" When we broke to 112, was I selling in my long term holdings? I made it clear, no. I would look at a short term short maybe on
yeah.
a pullback, but I am not selling at any time because the
Which
liquidity is
tells
just
you
not
one
there.
thing. You're absolutely right, Howard. And you know what? If you think about that, that's where hedge funds do the best, right? They're not selling. So hedge funds come in and say, okay, you're a big firm like strategy. You still need to hedge against that. So the hedge funds say, okay, we'll short against that. We'll make sure that you're not like losing big money here. Options or whatever, or IBIT,
Yep,
however they're doing
absolutely.
it. I think that's a great play. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, that's all. Yeah, yeah. We're looking at that. I'm using Nano Futures. Coinbase has them now. It makes it
Yeah.
nice and easy. If you have a Coinbase account, answer 4 simple questions to prove that you're a U.S. citizen and have rights of that citizenship to do it. And they're 50 cents a contract. I think it is right now.
Let me ask you a question, Howard. I mean, and I don't really know the answer to this, but with Coinbase, with their breach now, security breach, how much are people going to be like, "Here's my driver's license, here's my ID."
You
How
don't have a
current,
choice, though. It's like going to any other bank.
right?
You can't open up a bank account without it. You can't open a crypto account with it. What I think is more telling is that they said, "Hey, listen, anyone that got any money stolen, and we've got aside about 400 million for it, that from this problem, from this data breach, we're going to make you whole." They're acting like an S&P 500 company, right?
Right.
So they're doing all the right things. I still have the utmost faith in Coinbase. I mean, I think all of them are tough, and as someone who wishes peer to peer really was peer to peer like Satoshi envisioned. It's not. And we know that that's not really feasible. It's something I talk about in the crypto room
Right.
is, the utopia of the libertarian who thinks we can work outside of all the world of regulations, we lived that already. You
Right.
had your run. If you didn't get in, sorry, you missed out. But that run's over, and now it is going to be somewhat regulated, somewhat controlled. And when I say that, it's not going to be the big banks right now, and it's not like that. It's shades of gray, right? There'll be less intermediaries, more things will get done with smart contracts, more closer to peer to peer on a lot of stuff, and less, steps. You don't need a credit card processor and a bank and a receiving bank and a sending bank, and we don't need a clearinghouse, and we don't need a bunch of things, but we do need some things to make sure that there is some rules to the road. Otherwise, North Korea will have every Bitcoin in a few years. So
Wow.
that's the unfortunate. Well, that's what it was. If you don't have any rules, and if people don't make sure there's some safety in the world,
Right.
you'll just eventually they'll just social engineer everybody. I mean, they're
We have to have rails on everything in
yeah,
finance. It just
right.
can't be.
And when you have $3 trillion going around in value, there needs to be now. That's what I mean. Is once you leave the world that we were in and you now enter the mainstream, there has to be some trade-offs with that, and
Right.
that's not I don't think that's necessarily as bad as others in my space do, because I do think it means we can go from 3 trillion to 10 trillion in value in the crypto market.
Mm. I'll tell you, if you want to talk about something today, I think the biggest talk right now is the dollar itself, the Dixie under 100. It's getting beat up again. That's that is very worrying to me. And we're now at 110, 500 now on Bitcoin. So
Yeah, like I said, it's there. So, Steve, I had a few things on that were interesting. I meant to hit up Mr. Thomas earlier. I read an article about how the ultra wealthy are shifting their gold to Singapore, so that they're moving them out of the U.S. They're moving them to a place where they feel more safe. Rising global risks, including U.S.-China trade tensions and the mass U.S. asset sell-off, have fueled gold's appeal, as we know. And the founder of the reserve notes that 90% of the new storage in the reserve is the largest gold non-government, I believe it would be called, right? Gold reserve there is. Notes that 90% of new storage orders are coming from outside Singapore, driven by concerns over the tariffs, geopolitical instability, and changing global landscape.
I mean, let's be honest. The new world we live in is China, Singapore, Tokyo. It just is. Asia is going to win this trade war. I've said this since the beginning. Trade wars never work. They've never worked. They will not work in this situation either. The damage has been done. It's getting worse. It's on again, off again. And it's not just affecting big banks and, oh, it doesn't affect me. And clear the house or drain the swamp and all the nonsense. Listen, it's now affecting massive and including the AAA rating of the United States,
Right.
which has hurt rates, killed the dollar. There's a lot of things happening here. Now, does that affect the stock market? Probably, but not quite there yet. But people are moving, and you're seeing it now. And Peter will tell you, right, that it's no longer just the United States and Russia and the main countries buying gold. Central banks around the world are now buying gold. That is there a liquidity crisis on gold? No, because we can paper the hell out of gold, and we can paper the hell out of
And they already have,
silver,
yeah.
and they already are, right? But what it
Can you
is
explain
doing.
to our viewers, though, some people might not understand that?
Okay, very simple. So in commodity world, you have the physical commodity, right? So if you have gold or silver or you have oil, corn, wheat, that's physical, right? And we call it physical. And then when I say papering it up, that means the derivatives of it, right? Whether that's futures, whether that's contracts to take delivery, that the corn that hasn't even been brought up out of the ground yet, that's different, right? And so when I talk about it from the perspective, and I think people talk about it from a silver perspective a lot, how much silver do we have in the ground that has not been mined? How much silver is in ingots? How much silver is in jewelry? That becomes physical. And what you're seeing is people that are buying derivatives of it, the options of it, or they're buying ETFs of it. There is not enough physical to cover the actual paper or the derivatives of it. That's the liquidity crisis that's happening now. Eventually, it usually all works itself out, and it's fine, and silver goes back to it. But right now, no. Gold really has a liquidity crisis, and it's the same thing with Bitcoin. Now, I know Bitcoin's digital, but people that are 100xing and 50xing things, now they're doing that in gold, right? Because if the central bank of Singapore and Russia, the central bank of the United States, is buying tons and tons of gold, I'm going to buy gold through my gold ETF or through my futures. Well, that's not physical gold. You've not taken delivery of that gold, right? That's what a contract is. So all of a sudden, there's more paper than there is physical, and that's a difference of. I would say I think Peter said the other day $30. I'm sorry, $300 in gold and roughly about $3 in silver. So there's that number three again in the markets.
Yeah, yeah. And as you said and started to allude to, treasuries have come down a little bit here.
Hmm.
I see the 30 years come down about 1% overnight. US 10-year are down about 80 basis points here. So we are seeing a little bit of decline in treasury yields
And
as it
guess who
reflects a
wins on
flight to
that?
safety, right? We're seeing a
Guess
little
who
bit of
wins on that? Warren Buffett. again,
Yeah.
has what? He bought treasuries. He's the largest single holder outside of the government to buy treasuries, and U.S. and employ and people like us that are that buy treasuries. Um, he wins again.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So as we get ready here, we are looking awesome for the start of the day, although I will say Qs have come off their highs. We were up about 1.6% earlier
Yeah.
here today. We have pulled back a little bit.
Hey, I like Nvidia still for tomorrow, right? And for me, an Nvidia back to 135 again, right? It dipped. I wasn't scared. Why? Because all of AI, they are the picks and shovels. So here we
Yep,
go,
no,
right? Yeah.
absolutely. Qs, we are seeing a big drop here. I don't. Is there any news breaking right now? 9:28, 2 minutes before the open. We just saw a move from 517.50 down to 516 here on the Qs, but a half percentage point drop here in a matter of about 2 minutes, without any news that I see hitting anything here. Let me quickly switch this over. I don't have my tweet. This is going to give me a hard time, isn't it? We are 2 minutes away from the open. Tick has gone negative. Like I said, advanced decline was over 3,000 here. Let's see if it holds up. Dixie at 99.25, as you said, Steve, and that's got to still be a little bit in that concerning area. And as we know, Mr. Flanagan had been talking about the weekly closes.
Well, let's be honest. If our dollar is cheaper, buying our product is a lot easier. So I'm okay with this. But if we continue to slip, the dollar's dominance goes down, we could have a problem here. So
Yeah, and like I said, he was looking at the weekly close, and we erased 3 weeks of gains, almost 4 weeks of weekly closes, and closed at the low that
because
we
these
had seen.
countries are fighting back. These countries are
Yeah,
fighting back. They're saying no to the tariffs. We don't care. Do what you want to do. We'll go somewhere else.
yep. I mean,
Uh,
you can't argue it from the pictures right there in front of you. It's at a spot where, as he's talked about, if it breaks below this 99, it gets scary, and it broke, briefly below it here. And it held. So that 99's got to hold for it. Look out below. As you mentioned, Steve, NVIDIA up about 2 percentage points here this morning. So back trading right around that 134 level here, was even as
I would
high as
also say, if you want to
135.
talk about another number too, is existing home sales. The biggest supply in over since May of 2020 during COVID.
Yeah, I mean, I've been talking to you about it. Yeah, it is in general not strong, and that's going to be a bigger problem. I actually read some articles too this weekend that were talking about, even with the unaffordability of homes, people have been downsizing, and even then, they
Yeah.
still can't afford to get into a home. Okay, we are open, Steve.
Yeah, I'm not too scared about this market. Let's let it do its thing. I will tell you that if you're looking at this market, I would look at things like used cars dealers. Um, People are fixing their cars up again. So
Funny you
AutoZone,
say that. AutoZone beats revenue estimates in Q3 fiscal 2025 is one of
there you
my
go.
headlines that I have here.
I didn't even see
Yeah,
that. I
nice
love it.
earnings. AutoZone, one of the ones that you and I use as a channel check, had a nice beat on earnings. They weren't moving up too far on it, which sort of surprised me, because this is one that usually good news makes them, move up pretty well. In fact, it's down 1.6.
Yeah, I
Tough
mean
though, it's
they've
almost
had
at
a nice
all-time
run.
highs at 30. The other one, this scares people because it's a $4,000 stock,
Yeah.
and it keeps some of the retail away, because of that. But this is one strong earnings, first time that they actually beat revenue estimates in a while. Tick still slightly negative. Advanced decline though at 5,000 to the upside. I have to imagine.
Ethereum's up 4% here.
Yeah, I had that on watch this morning.
Yeah, gold now breaking below the 3,300 handle here, right at 3,300. How about oil at $61 a barrel? I mean, it's
Doesn't seem
really,
to want to move.
it does not.
And I saw the CEO of Sunoco on TV early today, says
Mm.
refineries are at like 99% capacity right now, usually around 80. But there's so much extra production right now.
Right. And that's what I've been saying for a while, right? That the problem is not oil, it's not drill baby drill. That's a dumb. If people say drill baby drill, it's dumb because we have
We
plenty
need
of oil. It's
refine, baby, refine.
production, production, production. We need to refine that stuff.
It
Yeah,
was
we need to.
interesting because they could have sort of backed him into a wall, as you know. One of the things I've been railing about is then shouldn't our gasoline be cheaper? And you've given some reasons why it shouldn't be, but he backed himself into a wall because he had been on previously and said the reason it wasn't back months ago and under the previous administration is because it needed to be closer to 100% capacity, and that's when it really those savings get passed along to us. And now that it is, he gave him, he tried to backtrack that.
That's not
So
exactly how it works. No, no, not at all. It's about. So there is a. Okay. Uh, Less than time, right? In the oil world, when you're pumping it up, it has to go into storage. And storage, we call it a carry trade, right? And so right now, it's this difference between when the contract, let's say, for example, it's a big company that Phillips 66, and they need lots of gasoline. So they go to the refineries and say, okay, you have a new list of 100 billion, 100 million barrels of oil. There's the oil. Now turn it into these things for me. I need heating oil. I need natural gas. I need all these things that need to be the crack spread, right? That's what I'm telling people to look at right now is the crack spread, the difference in those prices. So right now, it's not good. So no, he's wrong. I'm sorry. That's just basic finance.
that's funny. We ride, nice move up here now, up about
Mm.
14%. So we ride, core weave really moving to the upside. Hertz up about 7%. They've been hit really hard. So we're seeing a move back up. Tech's really definitely the name. All the AI names taken off here. Pony AI up 5.72. Rigetti up
Remember a month
5.71.
ago when everybody was saying AI was dead, and I was laughing like, no, we're not even the first inning. Here we are. AI
I
is
will say
gonna.
an interesting one. One of the laggards this morning had been Shopify, now up 3.18%. There just seems to be just a diversion between the pre-market and the regular cash market
Well,
trading
people
time.
people people are looking for a deal right now. What we call looking for alpha, right? If these companies have been beaten up, they're looking to buy those companies that have been beaten up. Let's look at UNH today. Where's UNH right now?
Oh, I don't even know. 297, so almost back at the 300 level.
Yep, almost there. I'm just you have to excuse me. I don't have all of my screens today because I'm on the road. But I mean,
It's
look.
staying pretty negative here. We've lost about 1,000,
W-
almost 1,400 off the advanced decline here.
Yep.
Views have given up about 60%, 60 basis points. SPY now up less than one. I don't know. The algos are definitely selling off here. They're taking profits. So let's see. And with what, like we talked about, with people being on edge, I would be a little concerned here that we see a little bit more of a fall here. It could be a watch out below moment. So
Mm,
shouldn't be. There's no reason for it, but it's getting wonky quick to the downside here. I think the algos are trying to
I
spoof the
think
market.
it's just. I think it's just. Yeah, exactly. It's spoof, profit taking. There's nothing here that's changing my thesis. I'm still long. I'm still, Nvidia's 133.66. I'm not changing my thesis. I'm not changing my ideas here. Take a little profit off because the algos have been wrong. The algos are trying to make up for their being wrong. If you look at a lot of these chartists telling you that the market was going to crash a month and a half ago, and here we are. Those algo companies are hurting right now, especially those that are looking at like VWAP and Bollinger Bands, they're really hurting because they thought the market was going to keep on going down, follow the balancing line. But now here all of a sudden it's different, right? So I'm not too concerned. I think we just sneak right back up here a little bit.
I see Fed Barkins out there talking. People are waiting out policy uncertainty. Government spending cuts are having an impact on employment and job
Hmm.
posting, particularly in the DC area, like we knew.
Yeah, I mean, you're hearing the Fed now trying to walk back all their policies, right? And saying, hey, look, we have a dual mandate. Well, guess what? There's other data coming in too. Oh, we should use that data too. Oh, again, the narrative changed again, right? And look, they're saying it's joblessness. We want to see job cuts, right? Before we start cutting. The prevailing thought process at the Fed now is that we won't get a cut until September, which pushes it off another month. They're wrong. They're dead wrong. And it's I understand their thought process. When it comes to tariffs, they really don't know. It's on again, it's off again, it's on again, it's off again. They don't really know. So it's hard for them to plan policy when you have a White House that really doesn't have a strict policy themselves. So there's a problem. But
He's trading
I'm
towards
not
the
too
low
concerned.
of the day here, 515.
I'm not too concerned about it. Gold back above 3,300, but only
3,300.
barely.
You just
Yeah,
hit exactly what I was going to point out. Yeah.
yeah. I'm not. Look, I'm looking at oil, 61.17 a barrel. That's bothering me a little bit.
Tesla, nice move back above 350 here. So we're starting to break some of the key resistance levels here. Nvidia, though, 135, man. What's it going to take? Earnings on tomorrow going to break us through 135?
150. We're going to 150.
150. Woo!
Yeah. Would you be a happy camper at 150, Mr. Howard?
Yeah, I would close my NVDX at that point.
Yes, of course. I think we go higher tomorrow.
'Cause I'm
At the
not,
end of the well,
I'm in Mr. Tuttle's leverage position on it.
yeah. And I think what you're going to see a lot of tomorrow is Jensen Wong. They're going to beat, right? But they're going to be talking about how AI. It doesn't matter what if you're ChatGPT, if you're Anthropic, you're Llama,
But
whatever
I
you
guess the
are.
only thing that worries me is what more could he say? He just left Saudi Arabia and had sort of the biggest announcements you could possibly have. And then the US, you
But that's the
have his
future. But that's the future. I'm talking about right now, what he's going to tell you that it doesn't matter what AI you're using, you still got to use my Rails. You still got to use my software, my backend. It's not just hardware anymore. NVIDIA has always been known as a hardware accelerator for GPUs. Crypto, blockchain, all of that, that's the past. It's still doing that. He's still selling those machines. I'm about to go down to the floor of the Venetian and go see some of those Bitmains. But what I'm looking at is the future that he's actually also built the software rails for AI too as well. Great. You're going to use ChatGPT? I don't care. Going to use Llama? Great. You're still going to use my rails. And they're making the new Blackwell chipsets a cheaper set to go to China. So they're looking for different ways of getting around things. I'll also tell you that there's something else going on in the world too that I think everybody should listen to. This one piece today is that there is a new way of getting around tariffs. It's not a new way to the world of business, but a new way to do it now, and that's called first sale. So when a company says, okay, I'm going to get tariff the hell out of this product, they're going to the first sale of that product. So if the product is being made in China and it goes to a middleman, it goes to another middleman, finally comes to the United States to be sold, right? Then they go back to the very first sale of that and they pay the tariff on the first sale. That's a loophole in the government. So look for the House and Senate to maybe putting a bill in to stop first sale if that's what the president is going to go do. If there's not, then the tariffs might not be a big deal. It might be overblown a little bit. So you can look it up. You can Google it if you want to, or Chat GPT it. Look up what they call first sale in tariffs. And I can see everybody right now visioning it
I
right now. They're like,
I see
take it away.
our president has just put onto Truth Social there. I was extremely satisfied with the 50% tariff allotment on the European Union, especially since they were slow walking, to put it mildly, our negotiations with them. Remember, I am empowered to set a deal for trade into the United States. If we are unable to make a deal or are treated unfairly, I've just been informed that the EU has called to quickly establish meeting dates. This is a positive event, and I hope they will finally, in all caps, like my same demand to China, open up the European nations for trade with the United States of America. They will both be very happy and successful if they do. So, looking turnaround Tuesday, as they're calling it. Let's go. Let's
Yeah,
get
and
these
look,
markets moving.
that's right. And you know what? Your charts didn't tell you that. It's a tweet. That's why I'm saying stick away from your charts a little bit. I know that the numbers are there. I get liquidity zones. I understand probably charting better than anybody I know. Um, and I'm around the CMT Association a lot. And I love those guys. They're some brilliant people. Um, but right now, it's all about Trump's tweets and what he's saying and what the deals are right now. So, hey, look at the numbers here. Live views right now, 800. Let's go. I love this, Howard. Let's get this. If you retweet and repost, and I will go to the floor of the Bitcoin conference today and do a live video straight from the
Nice.
floor today. So I'm looking forward to that today. And I'll do one tomorrow too, I think. I'll do one
Okay,
tomorrow,
well,
and I'll
Ted's
fi
barking has finished his interview on Bloomberg, so he's done talking. That should help.
I do like, I tell you, there are some companies that are very interesting to me. If you're looking at this, is WBD, Warner Brothers Discovery, WBD. Um, it's up 3.17% today. Um, this is a stock that's under $10. They produce documentaries, they produce series, and they've had a little bit of an issue. But these are companies that in the entertainment industry could start to see some M&A.
They own a lot of good real estate in Silver Spring, Maryland,
That's right, they do.
right
Discovery
downtown
Channel.
as they're building, right in
Discovery Channel,
Silver
their big
Spring. I
building.
used to
That's right.
about a mile from my condo.
I used to go hang out there every once in a while. I
Yeah.
will tell you that Nvidia's at 134 again. I'm not nervous about this market. Yeah.
Ticks
Yeah.
down slightly still, advanced decline sticking right around that 47, but yet now we're at treading water sign. See what we
And the
get,
Dow's
which way.
the Dow is still up 384 points. So yeah. Hey, retweet us out there if you're out there. Retweet. We're on LinkedIn and all kinds of places. Send it out there. Get us up there. Let's get over 1,000 here today. Our numbers have been very good.
Gold trying to break back below the 3,300 handle. Bitcoin is holding up that 110. 110.33 here. Nicely
I think
holding up.
Nasdaq goes. I think Nasdaq goes positive here in a few minutes.
It's up 1.26%. You mean positive from where it opened?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
It's kind of a quiet move here,
Down
isn't
a full percentage point. Yeah, not much going on. Tick's pretty muted. Still slightly negative. Nvidia back at 133.77. So it's struggling to get across that spot. Apple is struggling to get across 200 here. Amazon trying to hold 200. Tesla, the big winner so far, above 352 here, broke that 350.
Yep.
Not a heck of a
And
lot.
Nasdaq futures also pushing up here too as well, about another 10 points up. I think it even pushes up here. The VXX is
VIX
down.
still holding above 20 here, though. 2050 hasn't been able to break back below it.
The VXX now down 7% here. Short-term volatility is dropping here.
Be interesting to see if we can break above. The Qs haven't been able to break that 521, 522 area,
Yeah.
going all the way back to heck. End of February. We've capped out every time right in that area.
There's a little push here to the upside. Little push here.
516, trying.
Yeah, I like this push. I thought I saw that push coming. I like it. I think that even the futures of Nasdaq even push higher here. We are pushing higher here. Yeah, another 10 points have jumped up here. Love it. I think the short, yeah, there you go. Another 6 points just jumped here on Nasdaq futures. 7.8 points jump. VXX dropping even further here, down 7.08%. So I like this. They're trying to get up to the lines here, I think.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm not seeing anything move. You keep saying it, but I keep watching it, and it Q's 516, same spot.
Yeah, I'm not watching the Qs right now. I'm watching Nasdaq futures.
580, 586, same spot.
There it is. Nasdaq futures only down 14 now. Was down 50 earlier, so I think we go
Video
positive
back
here.
above 134 here, but it's got to break 135. It keeps getting to that same spot.
I think we go positive on that. There it is. Only down 11 now. Only down 9. Down 8. Down 7. I like this. I really did. I like see that move, that break up. I liked it.
I like it if it can break this spot up here where it was before the pre-market opened at 921.
I agree with that. It's going to have to do that for sure. Yes.
Doesn't mean anything till it does that.
But what it does say is it says that the world isn't falling apart just yet. Yeah. But that run is very nice here. About Ripple being up 1.2%.
Yeah, I mean, there isn't a crypto that I don't see that isn't up on the day so far. So
During the Bitcoin conference, I might add.
everything up. Yeah, you don't usually see that, so that's a good sign. Normally, we see a dump during the Bitcoin conference. I will say again, we weren't able to even hit the 516.79 there. That was the cash market open, so we haven't been able to get across it. I have it targeted here, that 516.78.
There's a little weakness here at the top part, so I'm not. But I think we go. I think everything goes up again. I think we break the highs of the day.
Not on that run. Hopefully we'll get another one here, and we'll see. And there's the drop back down, 516 at risk.
Yeah.
Tried. So they're finding it out. The algos are still fighting it here. We'll see. Retail will start to take over in about 10 minutes, and we'll have a better feel. But
yeah,
again, NVIDIA back below 134. What I'll keep pointing out is we're raising up. We got to break through that level that we started, at least the cash market. Never mind the highs of the morning.
There we go. Another run at this.
Keep trying.
Another run. Here we go.
See if we can make it 516.55. There it goes. Here we go. Come on.
I think we do it. I think we do it. I'm not scared.
Gonna pushed right to it though. Rejected right at it. We'll break it on the next attempt.
Third time's a charm.
34 again. The question is, the thing is the Mag 7 sort of treading water, so it's the smaller caps that are moving it up every time.
Yeah,
so
agreed. Yes.
So if we see the Mag 7 start to get a little bit of wind under them, it will move the market up nicely here. So maybe the small caps lead the Mag 7 to the top today. You see advanced declines at about 4,500 here.
And the VXX down
93 basis points.
Bitcoin now under 110, so I think they've lost
a little profit taken here. Not surprising. You can see battling to get across 42 here on the Dow Jones. That's got to be the first level to grab here. Well, we're getting some footing underneath us here, so it does look like we want to try to break to the upside. Tick just went a little negative, a little positive rather, so that could help here.
Hmm.
Gold slipped below 33, as you said, Bitcoin. So maybe commodities blow off a little steam here. VIX really not moving. It moved from 2049 to 2032, but that's not really much of a move.
Nasdaq futures on the highs of the day now.
There you go. So that could maybe lead us in the right direction for sure. Russia
One
now
more.
says U.S. Golden Dome project to undermine strategic stability.
I think Putin is looking for any reason to
Fight,
continue to
yeah.
keep his little war. Yeah. We are very close to war, by the way. I mean, this is the closest we've been in a long time.
Oh, can I show this? Oh, that's funny. Michael Saylor just posted that. Are you a bull?
I will see him later today, actually.
I think that is a direct shot at all the other Bitcoin companies that are now following suit. That
Hey,
was a
if you
veiled.
be a
That
leader,
is
not a follower.
that is
That's
a
right.
very veiled sort of shot across the bow at the president and the other companies trying to hone in on his business. Those that don't know, Michael Saylor is a very, very um, aggressive gentleman when it comes
But
to.
I think it's when you see that kind of stuff, it's flattery, right? That you're saying, hey,
It is,
look,
and he's spoken to companies. He wants it. I just don't think. I think he liked it when it was companies that were just like Tesla, adding it and sort of non actively managing it, sort of just putting it aside. He doesn't want other companies that may challenge. Again, we know that he wants to be the bank of Bitcoin, and Tesla was never going to be the bank of Bitcoin. But what you could see is these others try to be banks of Bitcoin also.
and I'll
Um,
try
so
to I'll try today in this week for everybody here to talk to Peter Schiff, get some video out of him, maybe do an interview with him too as well. Peter is actually here at the Bitcoin conference. He's a speaker here,
always,
and
yeah.
and he has a booth this year.
Oh yeah, always. He just
Here we go, Bitcoin back to 110 here. But
everything's just sort of like I said,
it's
everything's just
very
sort of
muted.
treading water. We're going in a pretty tight range here.
Yes, it's very muted today. Here we go. Here we go again. Nasdaq's futures closing in on the highs of the day again. I think we go positive in futures there, and I say futures because they were open during the holidays as well. So for those of you who don't know what I
Airlines with a
mean,
nice bounce back today,
yeah,
Steve. United up 3.88%. Like to see that.
yeah, I think United Health is way undervalued. It's extremely undervalued. Oh, there it goes. Nasdaq futures just hit green. Kaboom!
There we go.
There
So
we
now
go.
that could give us the first and a domino effect from there. Let's see. And we do see Q's trying to break 517. So everything is now above
It,
the 930. Well, these two are above the 930 open. I think SPY just did too.
Big beat still got it.
SPY's not quite there. Rejected at the spot, unfortunately.
Nvidia the highs of the day now.
Q's rejected back below it, man. Just can't hold.
Still not scared about it. I think it's going to try again, but I think it breaks above it. There we go. Get those numbers up there, baby.
Just trying, but they're not really moving so far. Tesla actually just treading water also. MSTR up 1.43% now. That was also a pre-market laggard. Wow, Mara up 6.82%. I did point that out on the show on Friday. I liked it on that drop. I said I liked it to 16 here.
I will drop by the Mara, their booth as well this week.
Largest publicly held Bitcoin mining company in the world.
That's right. I'll try to do some video as well from the floor so you guys can all see what we see down there as well. Nasdaq futures are really struggling here, but I think we go higher. I just
Still
do.
got all 12 sectors of the Spider Select S&P, all in the positive, but we do see energy here getting kind of close to, flat. Same thing with utilities. Consumer discretionary leading the way. We do, Steve, have to point out a lot of retail earnings this week. So we're going to get
Yes,
not
of
only
course.
NVIDIA, but along with NVIDIA, a lot of retail earnings this week.
And it could set precedents for us as well.
I do think this is a good one. Unusual Whales just put, investors are behaving more emotionally now than they did even during COVID or the financial crisis, as
They're
Goldman Sachs.
nervous. We've said that a
Yeah,
million
that's
times, right? We
Goldman
know,
Sachs actually that he was
right?
reporting on. Yeah.
We know we talk about this for months now that they're more nervous now than they were during COVID. During COVID, it was easy. You're just buying and going crazy. Here, they don't know what to do. So it's just,
Like you said,
you
there's
know,
two
yeah,
way. It's not one way that's easier. And we just
right.
go
And
up
that
and down because the same AI names that were up this week were down last week. The Chinese names that were up last week are down this week. We're just seeing the cyclical move when we're not breaking out of it. NVIDIA, I feel like we've said, for the last 4 weeks, is it going to break 135?
there's
It
the break.
will, but it
We're
hasn't.
seeing a
Like you said,
breakout
it's
here.
going to do it. It's going to do it before. Is it going to do it before earnings or after? Steve, when is NVIDIA
Uh,
making its
uh,
move?
after earnings, they need to
After
see.
earnings. I
Yeah,
love it. I love it.
yeah.
There you go. I might have
See,
to add to my MVDX on that there, Steve.
yeah,
It's
and
kind of
we're
pulling
seeing
back today. I might have to add to that. So
there's a little bit of a push here, a bit of a push.
it's trying. Everything's trying. Just like I said, it just seems like something's selling off. I don't know what the sell off is, why it's, seems manipulation to me because it doesn't want to break those key levels. Seems like the institutions are keeping it down while they can buy more, maybe.
I think the next bar here is going to, yeah, there's a nice little pop here in the Nasdaq futures now up 10, 11 points now. We moved 60 points in the Nasdaq futures since the last 10 minutes. So I'm liking this maybe 10, 15 minutes. I'm not nervous about this market.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not nervous. I'm trading it. There's some good stuff out there, both on the upside and downside. You can play, watch your earnings. They're going to be
There's a break.
important here this week. It's going to be all about earnings and Fed speak.
Still pushing higher.
Yeah, 517. It broke the 517 on the Qs. SPY's a little bit more range bound
Now,
here, stuck right
the
around that
path of
580.
least resistance now is not to the upside. The path probably is to the downside, but I still think we push up a little bit. We are seeing lower lows and lower highs. They're pushing up. I don't. Yeah, we might be filling out here a bit. We are right at the 10 o'clock hour now.
Yeah. Okay, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. I know Steve's got a lot of interviews and things to do while he's there at the Bitcoin conference. We will see you back here tomorrow morning, everybody. Thank you so much.